Alright, I've got my bow set up in this little jig I made. I've got a clamp down to my table. It's just a couple of 2x4s on each side, clamps down into place. Jig fits down into it nicely. And I clamp it into place to have everything secure so I don't have to worry about it moving around while I'm pulling the fiberglass tight. I've got my toothpicks here and I want to break those off now. Try to get it to where they aren't protruding. From the riser. So that's ready to go. Here I've got a few strips left I cut extra from the last socket that I made, and I got my carbon cut right here. So I need some more, and what I would do every time I get ready to do a socket, I don't ever measure this stuff. You can cut them whatever length works for you. I just cut them, you know, they're about 3, 4, 5 feet, whatever. I like them a little longer. There's less ends to deal with, and you'll find that the ends will unravel a little bit. But I'll normally cut 10, 12, maybe 14. It doesn't really matter, because what I don't use on this one, I'll use on the next socket. But the last thing I want to do is get halfway through a socket or almost finished with a socket and run out of fiberglass. And I have to take my gloves off or to use the scissors, or get scissors covered up with resin. If by chance you run out of fiberglass or you run out of resin before your bow and your bow sets up or sleeve sets up before you can get it finished, you have to let that harden up and then overnight, and come back and sand all the roughness off of that till you get down, a coarse sleeve there, kind of coarse like you would sand your wood, and then go back and re-wrap the, whatever's remaining. So you just want to grind it down till you get pretty much smooth all the way around, the coarseness of whatever grit you're using, and then go back and wrap the rest of it. When you do that, you can usually take it out of the jig to finish it up. It's not too big of a deal. But I've got all my fiberglass cut and I've got my carbon ready to go. Once you mix this stuff up, you should have about 20 to 30 minutes roughly, depending on what temperature your shop is, before it sets up. Plenty of time to work with and make the socket. You're going to want to mix your resin 3 to 1. 3 of the larger container to 1 of the smaller container. I've got pumps set up on mine to work it as 3 to 1, but the pumps are they're measured out differently. So this one, 2 pumps of this first one is mine, but just remember, 3 of the clear, 3 parts of the clear to 1 part of the yellow. And don't watch my pumping. This, like I say, is set up differently. Running out, gonna have to get a little more. Alright, now I like my sockets to have a little bit of color to them. I sell dye to go with it. A little $9 can of dye, and it takes so very little that this can will last probably 50 to 100 sleeves. I don't know, it's an old can, it's probably a year or better old, but that's all the amount of dye that I put in mine. If for any reason you feel it's not dark enough, you could put more, but it's only going in there for looks, and I don't believe that it could possibly do anything to strengthen the socket. I don't think it hurts it, but I just don't want to put more in there than what's absolutely necessary. So I just put that little amount, and I probably won't have to worry about getting another can of dye for myself for another year. Who knows, long time. Mix it up real good. Scrape the sides. Should be plenty. Alright, set it off to the side. And what I like to do, again, this is just my method, is I like to coat the surfaces of the socket with a little bit of resin. And I've got some paper up underneath this bow to catch anything that drips and falls off. And this way, with coating that over the tin in there, I feel confident I won't have any dry spots. I'll wipe up some of the drippings there. Take one strip of glass. I always start off with a strip of glass. I feel that it definitely soaks the resin in better, and I think you're going to get a smoother internal surface for your socket if you start off with the fiberglass. One wrap over the top of the last wrap and it stays pretty tight. I keep it snug. I'm not putting an overly excessive amount of pressure on it. And just keep going around and round, back and forth. Until you run out of that strip. Alright, next I want to put my carbon in there. Now, if you're only using 3-foot strips, you may want to put 2 glass pieces down before you put your carbon down. Gives it a little bit thicker base. That way when you're sanding and you hit your carbon, you still have plenty of carbon and glass up underneath that carbon, so you can actually sand down to your carbon layer and be okay. That's one of the biggest reasons why I still use a carbon. Is it strong enough without? I suppose it is, but one little strip of carbon in here and it's not really changed the price of the bow tremendously, of the socket. Just go back and forth evenly until you run out of carbon, until you get fully wrapped in there. Try to lay it down nice and smooth, pulling it snug each and every time. You'll see that your carbon wants to unwind on you a little bit. Just break it off. It's just a little string that weaves it together. Doesn't matter if you go what direction you go. If you go towards the top or bottom first, just put it under evenly and build it up evenly, just like you're winding rope onto a spool. You want to make sure you run it tight up into the shoulders of your sanded sleeve. You don't want any gaps anywhere in there. Alright. Once you get done with your carbon, you just go back to your fiberglass sleeve and so on and so on. Now there's lots and lots of resin on there. I will not always soak the sleeve or the fiberglass into the cup for resin. You want to, the resin is just there to hold the glass together pretty much. Glass is there to hold the resin together, so you don't want too much of either one. But if it looks like it's a little dry, you can dip your fingers in there, add a little more resin to it, or the next one will soak a little resin down through it. The glass wets out really nicely. So anyway, you just keep doing this until you have it built up as thick as you want it. All right?